Hi, I'm Jeff Francis. I'm the Executive Director of the Vermont Superintendents Association. And I think that if in Montpelier there was a perceived threat to either the students or the school, in a manner that folks are perceiving threats to this school tonight, I think we'd see a turnout exactly like this one. With respect to the rules, I think that the early process of drafting, explanation, communications, and talking past one another has contributed, in my view, to a near unprecedented amount of acrimony and angst. I've not observed this type of disharmony on any single education policy issue over the course of my work with the Superintendents Association.
Rule Series 2200 is not a subtle change, but a long-term threat to all. We are your future, so please don't overlook the drastic effects that this will have.
An overflow crowd of more than 800 people filled the gym at Burton Academy to capacity Monday, December 12th, for a meeting with members of the State Board of Education, called to discuss several controversial rule changes governing independent schools. At issue is to what degree independent schools would have to comply with the same state and federal rules that public schools do when they receive public tax dollars. The State Board of Education feels an update of some of the rules governing independent schools which receive public money is overdue after 15 years and are focusing on ensuring proper accounting of the state's funds as well as ensuring equality of opportunity when it comes to special education services. But several local leaders at the area's independent schools saw the proposed rule changes as a threat to their ability to provide the levels of education quality they are currently offering and could impose additional costs on their operating budgets. If approved, the new rules might jeopardize their viability, resulting in a curtailment of school choice for the area's parents and school children. The concern about diminishing school choice was pounded home by more than 120 speakers over the course of what turned into a 3-hour-long meeting.
I had been looking for the right place for my family. And when I say looking for the right area, not just community, but seeing a place that is getting schools right, who's thinking that not every child is the same, and not every child has the same needs, and that schools can specialize. My concern with these rules is that equity turns into excellence for no one, rather than...
Good evening. For the record, Representative Oliver Olson. 4 of the 5 towns I represent in the Vermont House have school choice. 96% of roughly 200 high school students in these 4 towns attend 19 different independent schools. The State Board has stated that these rules do not alter school choice. The reality is that these rules will have the effect of severely limiting which schools a school district can pay tuition to, resulting in a 2-tiered system. One where students from low and middle income families are left with fewer choices, while the affluent will continue to have full access to full school choice. School choice, which includes access to a full range of public and independent schools, is one of the greatest economic assets we have in this region. Look at everyone who turned out this evening. At a time when Vermont is wringing its hands about the difficulty recruiting and retaining a younger generation, these rules would undermine one of the greatest assets we have.
Others argued that this was a civil rights and equal access to education issue as well as a school choice one.
I drove almost 3 hours today to attend this hearing because I feel compelled to speak on behalf of other students like me. This is a civil rights issue. The laws of our country clearly state that publicly funded schools cannot discriminate against students with disabilities. I find it extremely odd that right now in 2016 we are even having this conversation. The position of the disability community is clear. Students with disabilities have the right to enroll with their peers in any private school that is funded with public education dollars.
Some compromises have been struck in the meanwhile, for example, in the area of teacher credentials and certification. After the meeting, State Board member Sean Marie Oler said there had been a misunderstanding and miscommunication between the school choice and independent school supporters and the State Board, which they were trying to clarify.
No way for the state board to state exactly what the outcome would be in terms of how it might affect every school. So things like teacher certification for special ed, complying with federal and state requirements, I think there's some misinterpretation in the language. And I do believe we're getting closer in working with some of the independent school folks and the different organizations to try and come to some kind of language that's maybe more simple to understand. So people are very passionate about their schools and school choice. And while we say it doesn't impact school choice, there obviously, if really small schools have to comply, there might be some fallout. This is the beginning of the process. This is not the end. So there's this process, then there's more hearings, and then there's written input, and then there's the legislative committee months down the road. So we're nowhere near the end.
For the GNAT TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.